All right, YouTube. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast, talking Auburn football. Go ahead and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle. Go ahead and subscribe and also become a member of the channel. And we're going to talk about the Mercer Bears tonight. We're talking about the enemies of Auburn as we preview this season. Auburn actually opens up the 2022 season at home against Mercer. The Bears went 7-3 last season, and oddly enough, they are number 17 in the preseason FCS top 25. They have a very experienced team, and they have a very experienced coaching staff. So it seems to be on the FCS level, this team is on the, kind of on the right track. Now, the Bears are actually led by he used to play at Coastal Carolina, quarterback Fred Payton, who spent 3 years there before transferring to Mercer. And he's a pretty good quarterback. But despite, Mercer leaning towards a power running attack, Payton was not effective as a runner, meaning that they're not going to really be able to, if he's going to be the starter, excuse me, if he's going to be the starter, they're not going to be able to stretch Auburn's Auburn's defense with his ability to be a dual threat quarterback. Now, we do remember a few years ago, back in 2017, Mercer really pushed Auburn to the limit, and it was looking kind of iffy there midway, late third quarter, midway through the fourth quarter, to where Mercer could have actually pulled maybe an upset. We look at the offensive line, just not a lot of talent there, to be talking about competing against, 2 guys in Auburn that will probably be 2 of the best defensive linemen in the country. You talk about Kobe Wooten and Derek Hall. It's just going to be really hard for them to be competitive in this particular football game in trying to hold those guys at bay, especially with the tenacity at which they play and trying to live up to the hype of last season. Now the Bears, for their own right, scored 31 points per game, averaging 40, but I just don't see them really being able to move the ball against a very athletic defensive front with Auburn, a very athletic linebacker core, which Auburn is still trying to kind of figure out. And it could get real rusty for Mercer here in this first game, as they are trying to make their run in the FCS and playing against, on paper, an Auburn team that has a pretty decent roster when you compare it to a team like this. The defensive line, Auburn is trying to prove a point as far as their offensive line, and this defensive line shouldn't really pose a threat. Their linebackers really shouldn't pose a threat. So I'm thinking with Auburn and all that they have roster-wise, you talk about a team that's not going to pose a threat with a dual threat quarterback, running back really not a threat, wide receiver core really not a threat. This is probably going to be a gimme for Auburn. Auburn has a lot to prove, and Auburn definitely does not need to come out of the gate with a struggle win, as they say, against Mercer. Go ahead and like the video, comment, and subscribe. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.